Hi, hello. This is the spooky episode of We Host This special Halloween episode called We Ghost This. No, just kidding.
Do
We're not
we?
we're not actually.
What? Okay. Hi, I'm Boo Llama, and I just held back a burp.
Well, that is terrifying.
Yeah. Hi, hello. We're back once again with the deranged behavior straight from the underground, from the sewers, and we're all stinky. Yeah, it's spooky. It's spooky. This episode probably releases before Halloween, though, because we don't bank them like other people do, and we don't plan them because that's for suckers. We like to be anxious and stressed and almost not record because that's what the cool kids do.
Yeah, that is much
Yeah.
healthier of a behavior. Don't really prepare anything. Push it to the last minute. Still have no topics to talk about. Then hit live. Then just beat around the bush for half an hour. But
Yeah. Be a
anyways,
procrastinator. You can always do it later. Ooh, yeah.
yeah. But that's spooky enough and real enough. I would rather talk about less likely things that people do, but still as spooky. Let's roll back to the toxic megacolon.
What do you mean?
You
Oh
mentioned
God.
we were talking about this before we started the podcast, and Shalama mentioned that there might be a condition called toxic megacolon. Cleveland Clinic says that toxic megacolon is a rare condition, but it is an emergency when it happens. Okay.
It's from what I thought it was. It doesn't sound well. It's interesting to call it an emergency because there's quite a build-up to it, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it does build up in the form of inflammation of your colon, yeah. But if it gets very, very expanded, if you have severe colitis, go to your doctor because if it's severe and prolonged inflammation, it could spread to the deeper layers of your colon, including the muscles, and break down the structural integrity of your colon and leak toxic waste into your bloodstream. That's according to
Yeah.
Cleveland Clinic, so that's fucking terrifying.
So you want to know why this came up?
Yeah, tell him.
Yeah, people get their alarms out before the stream, and on your stream, there's an alert that I made. I made that. I made that. By which I mean I took a clip from Shark Tank and I clipped it and made it into a sound alert, which means I made it. And that rich person number two says pee pee poo poo. Yeah. Also, I can give more context. The pee pee poo poo clip is from when they had a wine glass that is a one use, one serving wine glass. And the person, I think that's the product that rich person number two called pee pee poo poo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that glass was also some weird plastic stuff. It wasn't even something you would probably want to reuse later for drinking wine out of.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, we said to have people get the pee pee poo poos out, in time. And yeah, you should, because if you don't poo poo for too long, then you I have at least been told that you risk getting a toxic megacolon because you have too much poop in your colon.
No, that is not what causes that.
That's what Dr. Drew claimed, I believe, is if that was his name, some American radio doctor, when talking to some other podcast people, because someone in their staff claimed to not poop for weeks sometimes.
Oh my god, people do that?
Yeah.
That's insane. Well, okay, if you don't do that for weeks, I could imagine the same thing to happen because at that point you also get inflammation in your colon.
Yep.
But I think that the toxic megacolon thing can occur even if you do go to the bathroom regularly because
I guess.
some people have
Yeah.
like chronic inflammation of their gut.
Yeah, but in this context, it was because, it's not healthy to have that stuff in your colon for so long.
Yeah, sure. Like it does have to go out probably daily.
Why is the first topic about shit?
I don't know, maybe because recently my doctor also asked me how many times I went to the bathroom per day.
Well, that's a normal question to ask.
Yeah, I guess, especially depending on the type of doctor. Anyways, I just wanted to bring up the word megacolon because it just sounds like megalodon, like the freaking
Yeah.
shark. And
Yeah,
it,
I have no idea how you do. Mega is a scientific metric, okay? That's a size, but calling it megacolon is just why? It
It
makes
just
it sound
sounds
like your colon
incredible.
becomes massive.
Yeah. It just becomes the size of a skyscraper.
Then what is a whale's colon? Surely that's bigger.
I don't know, that's a gigacolon.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think you
Yeah.
had other things more interesting to talk about. Omega
Yeah.
colon.
Someone questioned why I think that streaming in the podcast category is bad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because I was saying that I have been like when we do our live stream podcast, record these episodes for a few weeks. I did that in the talk shows and podcasts. I think that's the category name. And I'm just thinking that that's probably less discoverable than just chatting. I don't really have evidence for that, but if you do, tell us.
Well, my evidence is all circumstantial, but it's based on a lot of circumstances happening, like many instances. It's just the fact that most people that do anything that is where they talk, no matter what else they do, if they are walking around the city, which is technically IRL streaming, they still just use just chatting because this discoverability is way worse in podcasts. Because, yeah, I don't know. I would like to see the analytics behind it, but if you stream an obscure game that nobody watches, you're not going to be found by anybody unless they already show an interest in that game. So, yeah, I think in those cases, there's clear proof that streaming obscure things, no matter how entertaining you are, you will be lost in the metrics and nobody will find you, even if you're the only person streaming.
Well, yeah, but
I
that
would argue.
doesn't give you. I mean, okay, if you're streaming an obscure game, either you will get found by those specific people that want to look at that game, which though it's very unlikely, it can still happen. Like I used to, and I actually still follow some categories of some obscure games, but that's also because I kind of tend to like games that people don't really play as much on Twitch. But like, I have found streamers just by searching for the people that were live in that category.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, the I don't know. I don't know how hard it is in podcasts. I guess it depends, and there it's not really that huge of a problem. But still, you'll see the biggest podcast people mostly still doing it in just chatting as well, and not always in the podcast category. I don't know. I would prefer, and what I've my solution that I thought up that nobody will listen to and nobody will implement, is that you would allow meta categories basically, or like umbrella categories, and then have subcategories in those. So if you're in IRL or on podcast, then you still aren't just chatting because it effectively is just a form of chatting,
Yeah,
right?
so basically kind of having both of the categories, or like you could
The
combine
reason
podcasts with game development because you have a podcast but you're also talking about that topic.
Yeah, but it's also because there's categories that people don't even know about that are subcategories. For example, there's literally a category that was an April Fool's joke but still exists as a real category now, which is just catting. And nobody looks at that category,
I think
but
I
you
still
could.
follow that. I still follow it, but every time I've checked the contents of that category, it's just really bad stream setups, and you don't want to watch those. You think that it has so few streamers doing that category because people don't even know it exists.
I guess also not really much content to do in that category that is not just memery. There's better examples for this. For example, they just added a mini painting category, and you'll only have the highest of enthusiasts in that category, which is already a subcategory of a relatively small category compared to like just chatting and stuff, right? So you have mini painting. It's not, but it's not nested within art, even though it is art. And my argument would be that if you do mini painting, you should also be represented in art because then people can discover mini painting art stuff and then they can filter by mini paintings within art if they want to.
Mm-hmm. No, I see your point.
Because right now, art is in the one, two, three, four, fifth row for me. So it's like the 50th highest category. It is incredibly rare that someone will scrolls down and goes to art, and then you are in mini painting, which How much does that have? I don't even know what the category was called for painting, but there's a category now for painting miniatures and models. That's what it is. And that category has 628 viewers right now.
True.
That's very low. That's kind of low compared to art itself.
Actually, I don't even see where you see how many viewers it currently has in total if you are on the
In the top, it says
category
followers and
page.
then it also says viewers. Yeah, and people used to do Warhammer mini painting in the Warhammer category, but technically that's incorrect. Technically, that should also be in the miniatures category. I don't know. I don't really know. Also don't really entirely know why Warhammer is a category. I don't know if they mean Warhammer tabletop. It's confusing a little bit. I am not certain.
I think that the Warhammer thing is more it's a tag that you can superimpose to miniatures and models. So they still do
I
this
mean,
thing where they show you like the top tags for that category and
yeah.
you could just filter by that. But if you are just on the art page on in the Twitch categories, you're not going to see, oh yeah, there is a miniatures and models thing.
There's 110 people watching people paint. And the first two streams are more than two-thirds of that number. And then in total, there's just 7 people painting currently in the Warhammer category. They're actually not painting. 2 of them are actually playing the game. 3 of them are actually playing the game, right? And one of them only has 1 viewer, while they have a 2-camera setup for their Warhammer tabletop game.
What are they actually playing it? Because I don't see anybody
Yeah,
when I combine miniatures and models with Warhammer tag. I don't see somebody playing the game.
you're
They're all
combining
painting.
tags.
Yeah, I'm just on the miniatures and models page, the category page, and then I click on the Warhammer
Ah.
tag.
Oh, the tag. Well, I'm in the Warhammer category.
Well, okay, I wouldn't expect that in the Warhammer category you find people that paint.
Well, most of them are painting. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 people painting and 3 people streaming a live thing where they
Okay.
play.
Or I guess since it's like the general Warhammer thing, I suppose you can have painting, but also people playing the tabletop game. That's true.
Yeah, it's a mess. Like categories on Twitch are a mess for sure. I think
Yeah.
YouTube enforces them itself though, which is also annoying, which can end you with if you do an essay, a video essay, you can end up in the gaming category of YouTube, even though you're technically not gaming. At least for a while, there was a problem.
I don't know, but I guess that it's also hard to tell, especially because if you do stream in a category that has a lot of people live at that time and a lot of viewers, I'm not sure if that necessarily makes you more discoverable. If you're
Yeah, I
especially
don't know.
at the bottom of just chatting, how is somebody going to find you?
Mhm. Anyway, that was a very spooky topic. Yeah, the most scary bit about it was that I kind of got bored halfway through.
Yeah, and I got reminded just how hard it is to get more viewers on this platform, so that's terrifying. So let's move on.
Yeah, I don't know. I just still, the last thing I would say is, I guess I would like there to be a system where you can have more than one category at a time,
Well,
and they need to
maybe
be loosely related.
maybe we have a Twitch employee amongst
There's no way.
ourselves.
There's absolutely no way. I think
Yeah,
I had an admin watch my stream once, maybe.
we'll see. So it did happen.
Once, yeah. And they didn't say anything.
They were listening very intently, trust me. They were
Yeah,
taking
they were
notes.
just checking if I was doing anything bad, probably.
Yeah, weren't you?
I don't know. I do bad things all the time because I'm incompetent, but that doesn't mean that,
Not that kind of bad.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. Yeah, well, what did you do all week, huh? What's up?
I don't know. My week was pretty boring. Like, I barely remember anything. It was just work, but like the kind of work that is not memorable.
The kind that your brain just pushes out as if it never
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, because it just kind of was stuff just like you have to take care of. It's not really fascinating in any way. And like the most shocking thing that happened this week, maybe I can talk a little bit about that. We had this consultation call because Jan and to some extent we're watching a little bit, or yeah, Jan much more than me, of this guy's channel on YouTube. His name is Local Script Man because he's got some pretty good video essays about like script writing, making character sheets. He also releases like these as PDFs so you can just kind of fill in the templates that he makes. And we could also book a session with him to kind of have him just like give us a little consultation on whether our story arc in Misgiven is kind of like too complicated, kind of try to help untangle that mess a little bit because it's just kind of like becoming unmanageable for us to write. And I don't know. We had like 2 hours talking to him about all the stuff that's going on in Misgiven, and I could just watch him progressively get more and more like overwhelmed with all this information while saying that basically he still kind of doesn't see the characters being like, I don't know, emotionally formed enough, let's say, like that their emotional arc throughout the story isn't really fleshed out, or there's too much information that is in the way of creating something like that, and he would just massively simplify it. Um and yeah, I don't know, like the thing is that yeah, you could say we took a YouTuber's advice on our game. That is true, you know, like you could say that yeah, this person, who is this person, but still, one, he does make really good videos, and two, I think we both just agree with what he said, and I think that we probably just needed somebody to tell us that was from the outside. Because it does kind of feel like yeah, the whole thing, like this whole story that we are trying to write just has too many moving parts. There's all these like factions in the game that should have some kind of like participation in the story, but because there's so many, it becomes too hard to actually write a compelling character arc because everything just feels like a fragment that is not compelling. I don't know how else to explain it. But I don't know, like we don't really know what to do with that feedback now. We're just kind of taking 1 week break and just kind of letting it sit.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know. I guess you're making a game for the first time, so I don't really know how much, you can immediately get right. Not sure.
Yeah,
What
I
I think
mean,
about is that I've seen AAA games that had very poorly explained world building, and they've sold, even though the people said they were bad.
yeah, like
I don't
I
know.
I don't believe that there's just like one right way to write a story. Like obviously you can at the end of the day write whatever you want, and maybe people are going to like it regardless of what structure you followed. But this is more about like how much complexity do we really want to deal with, because we're just making our lives harder, and this game has already been in development for so long, and we
Hmm.
need to release something at some point. So like if we want to make such a complex story with so many people involved with it as our first game, that's kind of not the smartest idea. And also, these characters are still kind of placeholders in there, like because we've been looking at kind of like the top level, like yeah, what should these characters do, or what does this decision really mean symbolically. We haven't actually had enough time to develop the specific characters to the extent that you actually feel like they're real people, because that's kind of what you want with a story, to actually feel like these characters have continuity in their actions and in the way they talk and act, and you could actually kind of see them as whole personalities rather than just like, oh yeah, it's a moving like symbol, a moving metaphor, you know. Yeah, but that's the thing, writing stories is fucking hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I never tried writing a big story. I've only ever written small stories. I don't know. I have no experience, so very difficult to say. I don't know. I don't know if reading a ton of books even can make you good at it either. I don't know. I also feel there's just authors that have either styles or just no talent at writing world building stuff. Not sure. Or they are so good at world building but nothing else that they just bore you to death with complicated details. But there's like literally nothing, no living being in the world that you care about.
Yeah, but
So you have no reason to stay.
this is exactly what I mean. Like what you described there is what I feel like the big risk for our game could be, that
Mm,
it bores the player with unnecessary complexity and detail, but you don't care about any of it because there are no compelling characters.
I guess I always prefer. I don't know if I've always thought this, but not just recently, but a realization that I think I just had for myself is that I don't like over repetition and explanation of things. And I particularly also do not like the overabundance of people that decide to make prequel stories or origin stories to characters of old IPs. Like, I don't need a prequel to character XY or this movie 10 years after it came out, because all you're doing is suddenly defining something that you could have created in your own mind from tiny context clues, just little enough to let your creativity decide what you think the world is, right? I just feel like, to me, that's the most fun, because you create discussion, you create wonder and curiosity around everything, because then people might want to know more, and they'll have a space for their minds to do some work and get creative instead of doing this over explanation. I don't know. I guess less is more than in that regard, if you want to try and not over explain everything.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think I mostly agree, but I don't know. I also kind of generally don't watch a lot of movies that are like mainstream
Mm.
enough that people would want to make sequels or prequels or whatever. The only thing
I
I
feel
can
like
think
at this
about,
point that might no longer be true. They make prequels and sequels to the weirdest shit now just because they've run out of ideas.
I mean, I guess the thing that we've watched that I can refer to as the Twin Peaks thing, because Twin Peaks is a
Yeah.
series, but they also made a movie that is called Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me that just kind of supplements the story of Laura, seen from kind of like it's kind of a prequel. Basically, it's a prequel to the events of season 1 of Twin Peaks because
But
you
the
see what happened to
storytelling in
her.
Twin Peaks changes so much between the modern series and the old series, despite being a continuation. The writing, the acting, the the direction, the pace, everything is so different.
I mean, that's probably also because, like, I was referring to the prequel movie because they made a prequel
Yeah.
to it. But you're right that basically season 3 of Twin Peaks is also a sequel to Twin Peaks, the original 2 seasons that were basically made in the 90s. And then 25 years later, Lynch was like, "Yeah, we're back. We said we would be back in 25 years, and now with all the cast that's remaining, let's do the season 3." But yeah, there is
Yeah,
a
but
lot
it's
of change there because so much time passed.
yeah. And there's no way you can maintain the same kind of spirit as a person 25 years later. That's like double my lifespan. If I look back 25 years, how different I was back then. Barely a functioning human being. I mean, not today either, but I mean, like, physiologically. Then doing that shift 25 years into the future is insane. I don't know. But also the technology in cinema and everything has changed a lot, and the world.
Yeah, there's a lot of change in cinematography and effects that they use, obviously, but also the cast is they try to have as many people from the original series as possible, and you see them having aged by that amount too, and it's
I don't
interesting.
recognize half of them.
They
I'm
do change
so
a lot.
I'm so unsure which one of these people is actually from the original show sometimes. Because the show doesn't treat it as a, oh, he has exposition telling you who this is, and you're like, oh, that's that person. Instead, it's like these people just engage with each other, and from context, you're supposed to just know. And I just don't. I just don't.
Yeah, but that's doing kind of the opposite of what you were complaining about, which is over explaining.
There's degrees. There's degrees. Also, I could pay more attention. Yeah, and that's David Lynch. I think that's a very rough extreme on that end of someone that doesn't like to explain and just shows. There was literally a scene of like 15 minutes with zero narration, no talking, despite some weird demon people saying "got a light" and repeating the same phrase over and over. And there was nothing to grasp what was going on other than probably evil. But there's an explosion and a weird dimensional space tunnel that makes you think you took some drugs, and it just goes on forever.
I mean, I took it as the birth of evil or something, or of the evil Black Lodge dimension, because they kind of just showed that these demon people, spirits, whatever, kind of appeared after the explosion of the nuclear bomb. I think,
Yeah, I
if I
don't want to
got that
go
right. Yeah,
into
maybe
Twin Peaks meanings
we're.
too far, but
I guess
yeah,
we're getting too many spoilers for people too, but it is this thing that he just kind of shows stuff, and you're supposed to kind of go along with it and hopefully understand some of the things. I mean, I think the series has a lot of lore that it's based of, like all the supernatural stuff, but it also was kind of like improvised. Like there was a lot of stuff that they just kind of figured out while filming rather than it was carefully
yeah.
detailed how it would
And
go.
if you look into it, it goes as far as some explanations are like, yeah, Lynch said during an interview like this one time, this one sentence. So we're just going with that. And yeah, that's enough for us. I don't know. It always did. That's yeah, that's why it has so much discussion. That's what I meant with the whole it breeds so much discussion. There's so much culture around this because there's so much openness in interpretation, which is an extreme that I don't necessarily find is the best either, but if I think about some worlds where I don't know, the disc world, I guess, is one of my favorite universes. It's there's a ton of stories in it, but you can still imagine a lot in it. Like you have enough of the world for yourself that you can imagine anything existing. And it feels like if you read enough of it and you vibe with it enough, you could come up with your own character that lives in it, I feel like.
Well, then maybe a good compromise to both get more content out of a universe for the people who want to make more content is to make a universe that is, I don't know, flexible enough that you don't over explain it from the beginning. And when you do make some kind of like tangent or like
Mm.
related content to it, you don't make it about, I don't know, explaining more of the same stuff, but you make it about just like, I don't know, maybe other characters, or even if it's the same character, that it's just, I don't know, still different enough, still like far further along in their lifetime. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what's a good solution, because obviously some people do like prequels or stuff that is basically spending more time with the same characters or in the same world.
I think it's that longing for more of something, and it's hard to resist that a lot of the time. So you're gonna fall for it, despite it being not the best thing. Of I mean, sometimes a prequel or a sequel can be good, but I feel often that it's like, yeah, and I think that comes to mind, which is fitting in more than one way, is like Lord of the Rings, like the Rings of Power series. They sold the rights to somebody that doesn't share the vision and changes the world so much that it's just no longer the same feel. It's I don't know. It's also trying to like Amazon, is trying to have a broad reach, and the original fandom of Lord of the Rings might be very very much more, I don't know if conservative, but conservative within the universe of Lord of the Rings, maybe. I don't know, but also that the whole world building is just not the same, and they change characters motivations and origins in ways that were never clearly defined. And I ended up there's a lot of articles about Lord of the Rings right now, for that reason as well. But the estate of Tolkien is one of the bad examples of handling the IP of somebody that has ceased to live,
I mean, I can just
Uh,
think of the freaking Golem game that they gave to a
exactly.
company in Hamburg that just completely
Yeah.
ruined it.
Dalek made it, I believe, made a
Yeah.
terrible Gollum game, and there was no vetting, there was no quality control on the part of the people handling the rights to Lord of the Rings. And they simply will give it to anybody now because the people handling it now just have no passion and love for the thing, and they don't understand that they're diluting it to a degree that makes it just lame. And the thing that I learned is that I didn't know this, but Tolkien seems to be predominantly not really a fantasy writer. It seems like his main passion used to be making languages. He just really liked languages. He made a bunch of languages, and to the point of things that are not finished. The thing is that I I'm not entirely certain. I think any language that he ever made is not finished because languages are also like shifting things. They are ever shifting things, and not all words exist in like Elvish, for example. So the language that is used in the movies exists in the movies, and they also needed to use linguists to embellish the language so they could have more words for more things. But there actually isn't a word for everything in this language, and it's imperfect. And a lot of it had been added on by other people when talking or writing about it or making work adapted from it. And it's actually incomplete. But people want to use it. They want it to be a real thing. So that's why people make dictionaries and stuff from it. But they can't be complete
But that's
ever.
cool though that they want to keep this language going, and if they supplement it with more words that are missing, that's actually cool.
Yeah, but then you run into the situation where you're not sure who's making that, who's doing it.
True.
And you have to have a consensus. Since this is not a language that is spoken by a civilization, there cannot be a, a connotative meaning to most things or like an agreed upon definition of the language.
I guess that's where I would imagine that the estate of Tolkien would step in and actually have some kind of linguistic council. I don't know what
Yeah,
it
there
would
needs to be
be.
like a council. Like there literally needs like an elvish council or the language. Yeah.
Yeah. The Elvish
Or the,
Council just sounds like the leadership of the elves in the movies, though.
yeah. Kinda, kinda. It's just this thing. I don't know. I find it interesting and intriguing, and I understand it, and I like to know that Tolkien didn't finish these things necessarily, but just kind of made them for his own joy. The point of the article was also kind of that he didn't mean these languages necessarily to be languages used by everybody. It was mainly that he had a hobby of making languages that he really enjoyed, and it just happened to fit into the making of the Lord of the Rings book,
Yeah, I mean
which is
it's
insane, like making language.
yeah, I didn't really know about him actually. Like I guess it makes sense because it kind of should be obvious that he made up these elvish languages and maybe others, but it's kind of hard to tell in the end. Like you can have people in charge of like making dictionaries and making kind of establishing the rules of a language, like the syntax, the grammar, but languages at the same time evolve, and the languages that Tolkien started would also evolve, and maybe it's only so much that you can do to really like guardrail
Yeah.
that.
But it ties into world building, and I think that's why the books kind of were necessary, also, maybe even in a way to manifest this language as something that is more tangible. Because a part of the article that I also forgot to mention that I guess adequately I should add on here, which kind of again transitions into your world building conundrum, is the whole thing of the reason these languages felt good and the way that supposedly he made them is that they needed reference to something. So that's and I guess subconsciously we do this, but consciously this might be something that most people don't think of when they think of how languages came into being. That context matters. Like there can be a famous hill on which a battle was fought, and there's a tree, right? And that tree is a certain tree, and then that tree is a goop-de-goop, it's the goop-de-goop tree, and it persisted through this battle that waged around it, and it was drenched in the blood of the fallen. And maybe then the goop-de-goop, maybe goop-de-goop just becomes a word for something that persists through everything, and then it's just a word for the word just means strong or perseverance, and that's where you basically kind of need a world to exist that shapes the words that the world shapes the words basically that people end up using around everything and for other things basically. So there needs to be law use cases for these words so the words convey meaning that you can understand, especially if you're in writing you have these words, you get this feeling of, oh, I get the significance of these words, and it can make languages more beautiful, like.
I mean, sure, but you don't have to invent a new language every time you come up with a story, at least.
No.
But I mean,
No,
yeah,
I
there's a lot of stuff. I mean, also Frank Herbert made up a lot of words to write Dune, even if it's not an entire language.
He drew a lot of inspiration from real life religion, though. He describes the oh god, what is it called? The holy war, the friggin' heck. I can't think of the name. Is it the Islamic word
I
for the holy
mean,
war?
yeah, he actually used the word jihad, I guess,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the war that the people were waging on Iraqis, which is an Islamic term, but uh, which means a meritorious struggle or effort. Yeah, well, but I mean, the thing is that even if you don't come up with like words and like an entire language for like world building, when you do write a story of a place that doesn't exist, that is still the case that often you have to come up with ways to name things that are commonplace in that world, and you don't want to just use a like the scripting language to illustrate that. You actually maybe want to decide what are the rules by which people have names in that society, or what are the objects they use in day-to-day life, or the technology, stuff like this. And if you don't always have stuff that is directly copied from other existing sci-fi, you still kind of have to come up with some names for some things, and even that is kind of tricky. You should probably start with, okay, describing what the technology and the objects and the stuff are, but then at some point you also have to name them, and then naming stuff
Mhm.
is kind of also like its own challenge. Like how do you decide what to name things?
It reminds me of the fish people in Harold Halibut, minor spoiler. That they kind of use this language of the complexities to them really don't exist. I think, if I remember correctly, they just say like shiny, glowy things.
That's true. Like
The
the fish people who had a very childlike way of describing things, but they also had a really cute way of like morphing the character's name and call him Howl instead of Harold. And
yeah.
and stuff like that. But they also had terms of for their society and for their objects or so that actually had specific words. I would like to remember any of them, but blogologo or something
Oh
like this.
yeah,
That was an actual
bloggle.
concept. Blogologo.
Yeah, they had words that could not be translated directly, and basically were translated to very simplified English. And it, yeah,
No, there was also like this kind of onomatopoeic words that actually meant the concept of, or like the attitude of just going with the flow or something, or of like accepting things as they are, and they just had an actual name for that. I just don't know how to Google it.
yeah, that's
So
very
it's very
difficult.
hard.
It's also a very underrepresented game. People didn't play that enough, so there's not enough discussion about it.
There really should be more. That's another
Yeah.
very good game. Like in 2024, I'm gonna maybe try this year to actually make a roundup of my favorite games, and I think it's gonna have to be like uh Harold Halibut, Closer the Distance, Phoenix Springs, and I'm not sure what else. Probably Thank Goodness You're Here. But that one is just stupidly funny. But yeah, it's definitely up there. And the fish people kind of had this very like communist way of living where they just kind of trusted each other and shared everything. Okay, yeah, a
They
thousand
didn't.
times
Yeah.
resist too, and Slay the Princess is great. Good points. It was a good year for games.
Yeah. Speaking of games, I actually, well, this week I tried playing Call of Duty's Black Ops 6 because it's now in Game Pass, so I didn't have to pay 80 euros for it on Steam, by the
Jesus,
way.
that's an insane price, but also, are you in your teens
Why?
for playing Call of Duty?
What do you mean? I'm a gamer.
Yeah, you're a teenage gamer.
It costs 80 euros in Germany. In the US, Black Ops 6 costs $70.
Well, Europe is a hard place to be.
How the fuck is it more expensive? What is the logic? I I don't know. Activision can go not step on a brick of Lego. I think that's too nice. I don't know. They can break their toenails uncomfortably and have to walk around for a week while they heal.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Must it be this harsh? I guess it probably must, yeah.
For Activision, yeah.
Mm.
Activision Blizzard, yeah, yeah. They can employ as many nice people as they want. The company at its core is still rotten, and from the top down, It's rotten. It doesn't matter how cool and nice the people at the work there are. The culture will always be poisoned by those people that are in charge. And they don't the people that are nice and make the games, those people don't decide the pricing either. And yeah, no. Blizzard famously abusing talent left and right, underpaying severely because of the prestige. It's like working at Disney for a lot of people, sadly. It's still like that. And it makes me sad.
And they
But
know that
yeah,
people are gonna suck it up and pay.
yeah, exactly. And I also saw this sentiment when talked about Black Ops 6 that people were like, why do you even buy this one? Why do people keep even buying this? Like I saw a video from Video Game Donkey, like 7 minutes long and cut down, and the entire video he just never managed to start the game because it kept installing improperly and failing at many, many different points. And then you have to, if you buy it on Steam, you have to open the game on Steam. Then it opens your Blizzard client, your Battle.net client, and you have to log in there. And then once you have your Battle.net client open, mind you, you bought the game on Steam, um, then it opens the Call of Duty client because Call of Duty isn't just a game anymore. The game itself is nested within a game that's just a client disguised as a game. It just opens like a full screen interface that has all the Call of Duties in it that are recent because for
Jeez.
some reason that's necessary. And then you press on Black Ops 6, which is a smaller tile next to the massive upgrade to the Vanguard Edition tile. So you can pay $30 more. So the massive tile next to the actual game tile. That's so dumb.
Wait,
It's
so
so
it's not just
insane.
$80, you would still have to pay more to have like the latest version?
The highest version, yes, obviously. There's always a bigger version. Yeah. You can buy the Vault Edition, never mind, not Vanguard, Vault. The Vault Edition costs 110 euros.
My god.
Because you need, I don't know, peppermint smell comes out of your butt when you fart, and you shoot rainbows out of your nose when you sneeze. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I wish that would be tempting, but it's even lamer than that, I'm sure. I don't know. But the point is, I started it, I downloaded it, which took way too long because the download rate on Game Pass was weirdly slow. Thankfully, there you don't need BattleNet to use it. Still, you open the game, which opens the game, and it was boring as shit. That's all. I played it for like less than an hour. I was bored to shit. I didn't play the zombies mode yet. I'm still going to do that and then probably just uninstall or maybe play the campaign ones, which is probably like an hour long anyway.
Wait, but what did you
So
play?
the multiplayer, the thing everybody plays, the shooty against other people that do the
Yeah, but how
shooty.
much is that to buy?
That's the entire game, all of it. The zombie mode, the campaign, and the online
And you paid
shooty.
$80 for this?
I didn't pay anything. It's on Game Pass.
Oh my god, okay, that because I was just like, wait, at which
No, I
point
don't
did
buy
you
this
tell
shit.
me? Yeah,
I don't buy this shit, excuse me. I haven't bought a Call of Duty game since Call of Duty 1.
I figured, but the thing is that wasn't clear from what you were saying. So I was like, wait a second, but how did you actually get to play it?
Oh yeah, it's in Game Pass, which is the only way I accept this because I don't pay $80 to play a game for like a week and then maybe sometimes when a friend wants to play. And Warzone is free, and that's the game mode that actually more people would be playing, which is their battle royale mode that has a battle pass,
I don't
which is also
know.
like 100 gigabytes.
I don't know. The problem with
Anyway,
games is that they keep coming out while at the same time a lot of them are just kind of like boring and safe. But I don't know. Like the problem is that there's still too many games all the time coming out.
mm,
And while I get people not wanting to pay such amounts, like I don't know, $80 or $100 for a game that they might not even care about playing much, at the same time, it's just like this industry is trying to make money and remain like a thing. And I'm just feeling like, well, what is the way? What is a good compromise for this? Like without prices increasing, how do you make it as a game developer in this industry? I don't really know. Um,
I don't know. It all comes down to sales volume, I guess, because your game can be incredibly cheap if the sales volume is just high enough. But either your game is a smash hit without advertising and it gets advertised simply by being good enough that people share it, or you have budget to advertise. I mean, there's no reason why Call of Duty 6 couldn't be $50 and still be a smash hit and still make them a profit. Those games, especially, if they were cheaper, more people would buy them.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so too. I just wonder what these people are thinking when they decide, no, we're going to instead increase the price.
I mean, they are maybe because they do insanely expensive marketing campaigns months before the game comes out.
Oh, well, that
That's
they definitely do. And then they
like
can't.
it's the same as Hollywood movies, where basically the entire budget for the movie, at least that much gets paid to advertise the movie, and then some in often cases.
I mean, what I was reading it was that you should have at least 25% of your development budget allocated to marketing, but when it comes to big titles like this, it probably is at least the cost of development. That's true.
Yeah. There's way more is in marketing, I think. And the games are jank as shit as well. I think there's like 12 developers that worked on this game. Like, I
Just
mean,
12.
studios. No, I mean, studio.
Oh, there's no way
Yeah.
there's just 12 developers working on Call of Duty. That would be hilarious.
There's a splash screen of like studios, and then it shows another splash screen of like another bunch of them. Development for the game was led by Triarch, so that's one. In partnership with Raven Software, that's another. And then they got additional development support by Activision Central Design, that's another one. Activision Central Technology, that's another one. Activision QA, that's another one. Activision Shanghai, Beanox, Demonware, High Moon Studios, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer Games. 11. That's 11 studios that worked on this. 11 companies made
Yeah.
this game. That's how do you coordinate anything? I mean, it's no wonder that shit doesn't launch and install properly. I don't know how you do. How do you merge code without causing a massive nightmare?
I don't know. I'm guessing, like, with stuff like this, you have people that work on different categories or on different content. Like, there are some people who are going to develop just the shooting system, people who are going to just do the audio, people who are going to
Yeah,
do just like this quest in the game and so on. Like, obviously, like the more people are involved, the harder it is to manage and synchronize everything that's going on.
it's insane. But on another note, then instead this week I spent like $8, I think, on getting all of XCOM 2 with the DLCs. And I've played that for an hour and it was more fun than Black Ops 6.
Hmm.
I failed my first mission immediately and I have to redo it. I've never played XCOM before, but I'm looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to trying Black Ops again.
That's funny how that goes.
Also, like you can mod all kinds of shit onto XCOM 2. Sadly, I'm playing the base game right now because there's like a big DLC that makes it much cooler, but you should play the base game first, I guess. And most mods in the workshop on Steam are not supporting the base game anymore. So the only mod I currently have is that the announcer voice is Neil Breen. That's all.
Oh my god.
There's hundreds of voice lines of Neil Breen in various qualities of audio as adequate.
That's incredible. But how do you actually get the mods to work though then if they don't support the base game?
Well, the Neil Breen one works in both the newer version and the original version. But other mods, for example, they don't work. My first squad was all women. That's it's randomly generated. That's cool. The only thing that bothered me about that is that I posted a picture in my Discord of my team. I'll just post it in yours so you can see what I noticed. The interesting bit is that the person second from the left, Squatty Kelly, she's from the tutorial. She got upgraded and she has full body armor, no
Yeah,
helmet though.
cuz I'm seeing
And
somebody
then
there.
yeah, yeah. Then you have on the left, you have somebody that looks like they're a guerrilla fighter. I guess they have cleavage. They don't really have a bulletproof vest or anything. Would be maybe better to have a bit more protection. They have a shoulder pad. I mean, that's okay.
I think
And
that person also doesn't really have something covering their stomach and lower back though, but it's hard to see
that's
because of the
possible.
gun.
But then we move on to the second of the right, which is Rookie Wilson, who is wearing padded pants, which seem to give some protection. There's some bulletproof plates on the thighs. That's good. protectors, a shoulder protector, the other shoulder is bare, and then wearing a sports bra and no helmet. All of these no helmet, and then we suddenly, finally, the fourth squad member has a full helmet with a rebreather or whatever that is. So if there was
Yeah.
some sort of tear gas, they would be fine. They are so protected. If bullets would go into their head, they are protected.
Yeah,
They
it's
have a little
like
padding on their forearm. They have a shoulder pad. Oh, and what else are they wearing? Oh, yeah, a pair of hot pants and a sports bra.
that's it.
That's it.
You just have a bell holding up their hot pants, and
I don't know if they even have shoes on.
yeah, I can't see it in this picture. But they just have these shoulder pads, and on one of the arms they also have some kind of like forearm padding or something.
Yeah,
Silly.
just amazing.
Silly female armor in games, man. They
I,
always
I mean,
sexualize this shit.
this is harmless compared to some of the most popular mods I've seen when I browse the workshop.
Oh god.
Because of course, yeah, you can have more chest padding if you want.
Mm.
There's also one for very muscular women. That you can also have that. I think I downloaded like 2 mods, and one of them doesn't work right now because I can't use it without one of the shows. I have the Neil Breen voice lines, and then I had like a stop wasting my time mod that doesn't work because the cutscenes in this game are too long.
Oh, you
That's
wanted
all.
to skip the cutscenes.
Yeah,
Well,
but yeah, I'm
hey,
gonna report on my XCOM 2 journey next week, I think.
yeah, you should do that, and I'm glad you found something that you can enjoy playing, because I remember you were mourning the fact that you don't have games currently that you can immerse yourself in. So,
Well, it's also a game that I can walk away from within turns without any issue.
oh,
That's
it's
really nice.
turn-based, that's true.
Yeah. So a game where you can also simply watch something and not pay attention for a bit, something like that. You're cooking, you're doing laundry, something like that. You save between turns and go away and come back. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like web fishing.
Yeah, kinda, I guess. It's like a dad game, kinda, I guess, because you always need to be able to run immediately from gameplay.
I was just mentioning web fishing because that's like the only thing that we've been playing in my Discord server in months. And by that I mean we used to run other multiplayer games like Valheim and Project Zomboid, but we eventually always just gave up playing those. And now the turn has come for web fishing, which is this very innocuous, very derpy looking fishing game where you just continuously toss your rod in and then get random types of fish and can increase like what stats your rod has and your hook and your
Yeah,
bait.
I think we mentioned it last week, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's basically if you took just the fishing bits out of Animal Crossing and a tinier, smaller island, kind of.
And honestly, I don't even know why I'm playing that game, because technically that kind of game is very boring to me. But I guess it's just like, oh yeah, I have a half an hour now and I guess I can have people join. I can make a lobby code and people just come in and then we just talk shit while we get random fish. And it's just something where I feel like, damn, I'm so wasting my time here, but everything
It's
can be a
hanging
waste of
out.
time depending on how you define it. So
Exactly. It's a social event. It's nice. It's comforting. Any game is a waste of time.
it's
Most things
very
are a waste of
easy.
time.
Yeah, it is. But
And
at
and
least it's also like I can be so lazy because all I'm doing is
yeah,
just like make doing some clicking sometimes. Like I
and
don't even
jobs are
have
just hobbies
to.
you get paid for. And the only difference between jobs and hobbies is that if you don't feel like, you still have to do them. That's the only difference. So nothing is a waste of time and everything is a waste of time. The only difference is some wastes of time pay money. Speaking of that, I have streamed again also this week because you can find me on twitch.tv slash shalama underscore. You can find Anka on twitch.tv slash Ankastasia without an underscore because Anka chose a name that's not taken by somebody.
The links to Twitch are also in the description of the podcast, so you don't need to spell them out, but you can. Like I'm not stopping
I
you
like
really.
to, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
And yeah, write us emails. Nobody has ever done that and nobody will. But if you ever feel like it, we host this podcast at gmail.com. We host this dot podcast at gmail.com.
Don't make it more
Optional.
complicated by introducing the dot randomly.
Anyway, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. You have to kick me out because I'm still painting my nails.